The next set of blocks we're going to look at are the control blocks, which are right here in the middle. Now, if we read through these, we've got to wait 1 second, repeat 10 times, forever, if then else, wait until, so forth. We'll see that these blocks are used for efficiency in a program. So when I say efficiency, that doesn't mean we have the most code possible written, but we have code written in a way that's very easy for people to read. So in this case, let's go back to a challenge we did already, where I've got my green flag and I'm moving, we'll say 20 steps. So I hit the green flag, I move 20, I hit it again, I move 20, so forth. However, what if I wanted to move these steps multiple times after one another without clicking that green flag over and over? Here's where the repeat block is going to come in. So I'm going to move 20 steps, and then I'm going to wait a second so we can see a true pause between. Now notice here, I'm going to repeat this, we'll say 5 times. Move, pause, move, pause, move, pause, move, pause, and a 5th time, move, pause. Super, a good use of this repeat block. The next example of a repeat block we're going to use is going to be a little bit more complex, but I know you can handle this. Go ahead and click on the variables button down here, and we're going to click make a variable. The next video is going to be on variables, but we're going to use them a little bit here. Type in timer and hit OK or enter. You'll notice a couple of things. First off, this check mark, I click it on and off, and timer is appearing or disappearing on my screen. We want it to show up in this case. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to set my timer to 5. And our goal here in this little program we're going to make is we want our timer to count down to 0. So we're going to want to change the timer by -1 since we're counting down. We want this to happen many times. How many times exactly? We want this to happen 5 times. And since things in Scratch happen very quickly, we want a true second between each of these counting downs. So we're going to wait 1 second here as well. Keep an eye on the timer. Let's watch this. 3, 2, and 1. Now, one other thing I think that could enhance this program is if we wait after we set the timer. So we see that 5 for a second. Let's try it. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Fabulous. Wonderful. Another good application of this repeat block. I'm going to get rid of this bottom piece of my code, and the next block we're going to look at is called the if then else block. This block is really nice if we have something going on in our program and somebody's choosing one option versus another, or something's happening and then something else happens. We can choose kind of the direction we want our program to go based on things that are happening. So if I come into operators, I'm going to start here with this greater than block, and we'll talk about these later. And I'll come into variables. I'm going to drag out this little timer, and I'm going to say if my timer is greater than 0, then come up here, and I'm going to say watch me count down to 0. I'll make this a little bit smaller. Watch me count down to 0. Now this else part of our block means if my timer is not greater than 0, so for example any negative numbers here, then we're going to say watch me count up. Oop. To 0. All right, let's notice how this is working. So right now if we read this code, my timer is set at 5. So my timer is greater than 0. Is this true? Yes, it's 5. So we should expect our program to say watch me count down to 0. Let's run this. Watch me count down to 0. Perfect. If I change my timer to, let's say, -10. Now if I read this, if the timer is greater than 0, it's not, so I'm jumping down to the else. And that means we should say, watch me count up to 0. Super, and it is working. These are called conditionals, and this is a really well-used block in Scratch as you're going to be creating some programs with a math lens.